It's April the 2nd of 2013. City Council's gathered here in the council chambers at 116 West Bridge Street for a utility rate study workshop. We've had two previous meetings on 2/19 and 3/19. Let me start by telling staff how much we appreciate your hard work and effort on our behalf. We're slow, but we're learning, and we appreciate how much time and effort you put into this from both the finance department, Ava Gregory, and from, what do we call your part? Neighborhood services. So we appreciate that, and city manager, we appreciate your efforts. Anyway, so staff, would you please bring us up to date with the current review process? Thank you.
Yes, council, city manager, city attorney. We are here at the utility workshop, and for the overview, we would like to just go through the slides we are going to be presenting to you. Not sure, am I on? Okay. As you can see on this overview slide, first we would like to discuss with you the general fund cost allocation to utility fund.
Alpha, could you get Rick for us? Can you hear it out there? Okay. I mean, does it need to be turned up, or y'all okay? Okay. Thanks. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's okay. So the first slide, we are going to present to you in exact detail the general fund cost allocation to the utility fund. Second, we would like to just review the financials based on revenue percentage allocation. The same financials were presented to you in the previous workshop. Third, we would like to address cost allocation from another view, and that is based on the cost of production percentage allocation. And finally, we would like to present to you the financials based on the cost of production percentage, but with consideration of waiving the 2008 and 2009 franchise fee, which was not paid to general fund. And I just would like to update you on that. In 2008 and 2009, the franchise fee was waived, was not paid to general fund from utility fund. The last year's budget process was based on the assumption that we will be recovering this franchise fee for 2008, 2009 in the next 6 years. So we had budgeted an extra little over $100,000 for this fiscal year 2012-13 to recover 1/6 of that franchise fee. Slide 5 is addressing the general fund cost allocation to utility fund. This is where I would like to just go through line by line and answer any questions you might have on the exact expense line items that are paid by utility fund. So in the first box, you see the non-departmental expenses. There is $9,300 paid by utility fund for supplies and maintenance, and that is just a various wearing apparel that is paid by the utility fund, as well as non-office supplies that is paid by the utility fund. Audit and accounting is $18,250. This is just an audit expense, and the other half of the audit expense is budgeted in general fund. Previously, we discussed the contribution to Weatherford College of $36,000. This is the city's contribution toward the Weatherford College, and it is budgeted in the utility fund in non-departmental. The next line item is contribution to economic development, $50,000.
I do have a question on that, Eva.
Okay.
I actually got one on the college too. You say stop you as you go, is what you said to do?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine because, yes.
Okay, our college deal was a 3-year commitment, I believe. Is that correct, Wayne?
Yeah.
When is that? That's getting pretty close to up, isn't it?
I think we are in our second year.
We got
Yes.
one more year to go.
Yes.
Okay. Why are we taking, and you're saying you're taking this 50,000 out of the utility fund for the economic development?
Yes, and the other half is paid out of general fund. So the total contribution is $100,000 to economic development.
Why are we taking it out of the utility fund?
That was a council decision. Half was going to be paid out of general fund and half from utility fund.
But also the logic is, right now, they're recruiting people who use a lot of utilities. And so if we
That's
bring
true.
in these manufacturing companies, the utility fund is probably going to get as much or more benefit from it.
That's true.
That was the logic.
All right.
Well, that assumes that you're going to make money in the utility fund. Otherwise, it's a contribution that's being made that actually burdens the utility fund in infrastructure and such.
Well, we're breaking even or making money. That's keeping, yeah, I mean, we had a small surplus, not big one, but yeah, we're assuming we actually budgeted to make 400,000 generate reserves. So that would help us generate reserves. So yeah, right now we are breaking even, making money. Generate reserves. Okay.
All right. Under other services, $3,200. Those are just a summary of small expenses like inventory damage, cable, meeting expense, and miscellaneous fees. And of course, the contingency expense of $100,000. That is budgeted for any unanticipated or unforeseen expenditures for the utility fund.
Ma'am.
There is as well contingency expense budgeted in general fund too.
Thank you.
The total non-departmental expenses are $216,800 that are paid out of the utility fund. The next box highlighted in blue is the shared expenses. This is for management information systems, or IT, the building maintenance, and fleet maintenance. All three departments are budgeted in the general fund for the total of $1.2 million. From that, we are allocating, as you can see, for the IT, half of it to utility fund in the amount of $245,729. And this is just for the utility fund to share the same cost general fund is sharing for the IT department, which is, of course, the personnel, maintenance, paying for license fees, repairs, anything that goes with the IT department. The building maintenance contributes, utility fund pays 59% for the building maintenance. This was determined based on space usage, maintenance, time, and percentage of salary allocation. And fleet maintenance, 24% is allocated to utility fund, which is $52,290. So for the total of three departments that are budgeted in general fund, $1,279,000, only $634,000 is recovered by to general fund from utility fund.
Yeah, and just on fleet maintenance, we pull the actual work order and allocate it based on if a car or truck in utility got allocated to get computed the percentage at that time. That was 2 years ago, but it was based on work orders. Okay.
And the last box explains to you the cost share of executives. And these executives are listed on your slide: city manager, city attorney, assistant director of finance, neighborhood service director, public secretary, public works director, and human resource director. Half of everyone's salary and benefits is transferred to utility fund, and this is for their share of handling utility-related tasks, issues, just the everyday work. So the total of cost allocation to utility fund for these three sections we went through is $1.2 million.
Okay, and there was a question about what we were allocating between general fund and utility fund. We just wanted to go through the expenses and give you the logic, we can discuss, they're all estimates, so I mean, if anybody wants to discuss any one, like Tony did about economic development. Any questions on the allocation of funds? Okay.
Slide 6. This is the same cost allocation that we had shown you in the previous workshops. And here we are just trying to explain why each expense falls into each category of electric, water, or sewer system. Some of these expenses are very straightforward. That's the reason they are attributed to each branch. Others we can go through and explain it to you. For example, everything highlighted in green is allocated based on the percentage revenue allocation, meaning we took the electric, water, and sewer revenue, calculated their percentage of allocation to the total revenue, and we used the same percentage when we allocated the expenses highlighted in green to each branch. So starting with purchase power, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but we just listed each cost under each branch, depending what they are. Substation charges are as well under electric. Then we have electric department listed under electric. Groundwater, water distribution, water treatment falls under water. Wastewater collection, wastewater treatment falls under sewer. The way we distributed the two utility administration and meter reading highlighted in gray, we have taken 1/3 and allocated it to electric for both utility administration and meter reading. Then we have taken 50% of the total cost and allocated it to water for utility administration and meter reading, and only 17% was allocated to sewer. And the way we can explain that is that there is not much more work to be done. We don't actually have to read sewer meters. I mean, there are no sewer meters, obviously. We just have to read the water meters. So that's how that cost was allocated. City Services Department, we have allocated only 1/3 to electric department. The other 2/3 are allocated to parks and airport.
Ava, explain what city services are.
City services are a department where Keith Callahan and his assistant are. So the department is really mainly personnel expense, very small maintenance and supplies. It's just a small department where our city service director is paid out of, Keith Callahan, who is over airport, electric department, parks.
If that's the case, why is the electric customer paying all of it then?
They're not. Like I said, that's only 1/3 of the cost of the whole department, what you see there. We are unable to show you what we allocated to parks and airport because they are not on this slide.
Yeah, but the water customer isn't paying anything and the sewer customer isn't paying anything.
Because he's only over electric. He has nothing to do with water and sewer.
Okay.
He's over electric, airport, and parks.
Okay.
On the gray allocations, the 3350 and the 17, where did the 30 and the 50 come from? What was the
Well,
thing
first
there?
we were going to allocate it 1/3 for each. So that's the reason electric received 1/3. But after we reviewed it a little bit further, we realized we can't really attribute 1/3 to sewer because there is no really extra cost reading sewer meters. That's the reason we have taken sewers, half of sewers, 1/3, and added it to water.
What about the utility administration?
We did the same thing. We only gave electric 1/3. Water carries half of the cost, and sewer's carrying half of 1/3. So,
Explain what you said about the meter readers. How many meter readers do we have?
3.
3.
2 and a
Wait.
foreman, really.
Is any way, Becky, they could, one reader could read both since they're already there?
Read both water and electric? They do.
So we got 3 doing the same thing?
Well, it's set up in routes, so while they're there, they read both water and electric.
That's what I'm saying, no, but each one does both.
Yeah.
Yes,
We don't
all
have
meter
one
readers
read-
read all kinds of meters, yes.
Yeah, we don't have one reading just water meters
No.
today and 2 weeks.
No, they're they're set up in routes, so as you're going by, they're in a sequence where you read them as you go.
Good.
Yeah,
They read both of them at the same time.
they do, yeah.
Good.
And there is no sewer meter, so it's just a percentage of the water.
Yeah, sewer is calculated off of water consumption.
3 meter readers get paid pretty good money. That's,
that is the cost of the entire department. That is not just
Includes the
personnel
meter.
cost.
Which includes the meters.
Yes, and it includes the replacement
it
and,
says right here on meter reading, that includes some buying meters too?
Well, where are the meters at?
yeah, they are in meter reading department. Yes, it includes the cost of replacing some of the meters and also maintenance costs,
But
supplies.
3 people do it, right?
Excuse me.
Okay, let me start over.
Okay.
You got $170,000 for meter reading. Is that correct?
Yes.
If you divide that by 3, that's almost $57,000 a year apiece.
That is not just personnel costs. That's what we are trying to say. That's the cost of the entire department. So I'm
Yes.
pulling it up right now.
You-
That, you know,
Wait a minute, does that include gasoline?
it
insurance,
includes
vehicles?
$135,000 for personnel benefits cost. The total cost of personnel is $135,000. Supplies and maintenance is $30,000. And services are $5,000.
There was 135, 30, and what?
$30,000 for supplies and $5,000 for services.
Telephone, training,
135, 30, and 35.
general liability insurance,
Yes,
meter testing.
That brings their pay down a
okay.
Salaries part of that is, 85,000.
85.
bit. Yeah.
And benefits, looks like there's a 50% charge for benefits.
Yes. Based on this cost allocation, we showed you the proposed financial recap last time. It includes the proposed revenue we already went through that we were able to derive from our in-code system after uploading the new data, the new rates. And the expenses highlighted in green, that's what we just went through. And the financial recap shows that based on the revenue percentage allocation, the profit generated by electric department is $66,000, water $336,000, sewer is $3,800, for a total profit of $400,000. And like I said, this is the same financial recap you saw at the previous workshop. On slide 8, we were trying to address the cost allocation from a different point of view. So instead of allocating costs based on revenue percentage, we allocated the cost on this slide, you can see, based on cost of production. Nothing have changed from the previous slides. These are exactly the same numbers. The only thing we have changed is the lines highlighted in green, and this time they are allocated based on the cost of production percentage. The total electric, water, and sewer cost is still the same. The only change are highlighted in green. So based on cost of production, 68% of the cost for non-departmental expenses are allocated to electric, 23% is allocated to water, and 9% is to sewer. After you reviewed this slide, and we are using the total utility fund expense net of capital for each branch of service, the next slide will show you that if we change the allocation and we use cost of production for allocation, the total profit is still the same, 406,000, but this time electric shows loss of 84,000, water shows the profit of 427, and sewer shows the profit of 64,000. These are, again, exactly the same numbers. The difference is just how we allocated the non-departmental costs. Do you have any questions on that?
You're saying electrical would actually lose money?
Yes, if you use the cost of production percentage allocation, they would. The previous slides, what I showed you was based on the revenue allocation.
Yeah, she's just showing you different allocations, which we're not recommending that. We're just showing you a comparison. When you do it versus revenue, you assume revenue is going to cover total cost. Okay, that was our assumption. And so it comes out about the same percentage. It just so happens when you just use the total cost of each of those services, you ought to actually allocate more money to it. We just wanted to show you there, and that's, you know, that the argument can be that that's certainly a very valid way to allocate non-departmental costs, which have no product, just to say use it the same way as the product cost. Okay? And allocating by revenue is very similar because normally revenue covers production costs. And so we were just showing you the two allocation methods. And so we actually chose the one with revenue that was less under those two scenarios. She's going to give you a third scenario. We're going to come back and recommend some, but the third scenario, she'll show the third scenario.
Well, before we go on, so you're telling me that the expenses went up under cost of production?
Yeah, it's a greater percentage. The cost, the sales thing goes with percentage.
Well, I need to see the detail on that so I can understand.
Gary, this presentation, cost of production does include the cost spent for purchase power and substation charges as well.
Yeah. This is the total cost.
It's not the operation cost only. This is the total cost of, total cost of production based on that.
Okay, so
We're just going through some other allocations.
I got confused.
yeah.
I'm sorry to confuse you. What we were trying to show that just looking at from different point of views, you know, either we can allocate costs based on revenue percentage, or here we are allocating costs based on cost of production.
Okay,
We just want to show you the difference.
Okay, I need to understand how these percentages have arrived at them. So can you back up a screen or two or whatever and take me through? So you're saying cost of production. What is your definition of cost of production?
Cost of production is the total utility fund expense net of capital. For electric is $10,887,000, for example, less non-departmental cost. So less everything in green and bond cost. This is the presentation what we sent out last week, and this includes all the costs. It's not only operational costs.
I get confused on this even. I apologize to you because I'm looking at the next slide and I'm saying we're making a killing off of water when we give
Yes.
money over there.
If we look at cost of production, that's how it looks like. We are making money on water and losing money on electric. But on the previous slides, when we showed you the cost allocation based on revenue, then all of the three branches were showing profit.
Yes. And that's where I got
And I just don't understand the relevance of this, why this is even in here then. at all.
We were asked to show the allocation based on cost of production.
Cost of production would be above the gray line, is where you would get your, less your revenue, is where you would get your percentage, and then you would apply the percentage to the total non-departmental expenses, so forth. So why you brought it all the way down, I don't understand at all.
That's the total cost,
Right.
which includes, when you get the total cost, it includes those other ones as well, just not non-departmental.
But it
We're
doesn't
subtracting
show,
out
Well,
I mean,
again,
okay.
I have no idea.
We were
why
just
this-
showing, well, it's another way to allocate that was that supported the same thing as revenue. Okay, because a lot of people use total cost of production percentage as a way to allocate.
But why would you, then why would you include your allocated expenses in that number?
We're not.
They are
Okay, so-
not.
We took out not, see,
that's not a profit showing more.
The 9.2 million, the 10.8 million went to 9.2 million after we reduced it by the non-departmental expenses.
Okay, how did you get the 9 point,
10.877. Another way of allocating. We didn't necessarily recommend this, it's the actual next one.
Right.
so you took the 10.8,
Subtract it out for the non-departmental.
so you're considering the purchased power as an expense? That's-
Yes, it
that's
is
the
an
problem.
expense.
Yeah, that's cost of production. Cost, it's total cost.
Okay,
Okay. All right. So our third cost allocation, what we are trying to show you today, and this is based on cost of production because during the last workshop, that was something we discussed. Why don't we allocate based on cost of production? So we have used that percentage, but on this slide, the only thing what we have changed, we had reduced the franchise fees by a little over $100,000, and as I explained at the very beginning, that was just 1/6 of the franchise fees not paid in 2008 and 9. So on this slide, nothing have changed from the previous slides. The top part, everything in white is still the same. Highlighted in gray, it's allocated exactly the same way as we had discussed it before, based on 1/3, half, and 2/3. And everything highlighted in green, that is allocated based on cost of production, same way as we have done in the previous slide. So you can see based on cost of production, we are still allocating 68% to electric, 23% to water, and 9% to sewer. And the cost of allocation, we arrived same way as I explained before. We took the total utility fund expense, net of capital, and reduced it by the non-departmental expenses. Under that scenario, our financial recap shows the total profit of $516,000. All three branches of utilities are generating revenue. Electric generates $57,000, water generates $408,000, and sewer generates $49,000.
And that one, all of them break even. Help make the 400,000 certified prices. We just working up that scenario to give the franchise that we didn't charge back in 2008, 2009. Right?
Yes.
So,
Is the franchise fee going to Fort Wayne or going away?
well, under this scenario, it would go away, but we wouldn't recover it from 2008, 2009. The general fund would not make the utility fund pay a franchise fee back then because it didn't have the money. And, so we had said we would recover it whenever the utility fund got more healthy. And so we we had started in this year, wanting to start with 100,000 a year for the next 5, 6 years. But if we just forgive that, in this scenario, under cost reduction versus allocation, we'll in fact have all three utilities breaking even or helping to make 400,000, or in this case, it's 516,000. So we're just saying, this is a scenario that works, that accomplishes our goal of making each utility pay for itself, and that links to the recommendation page.
Okay, but is this what was, you were proposing to begin with in number one, 1095?
No. Well,
Yes,
10.95, okay, but it's a different allocation.
this is a presentation we sent out last Monday or early Tuesday morning. So yes, we have not changed that presentation. This is the one we tried to send out to you as early as we could.
So what this does, once it's on the recommendation,
And we addressed this, what we are recommending is the allocation process based on cost of production percentage, and also along with the 2008 non-franchise fee forgiveness. And at this time, we are asking to and recommending the approval of the 10.95 electric rate, along with the proposed utility rate structure as presented to you in the previous workshop. And we wanted to add an additional comment that the property tax, any property tax increase or decrease would be at your discretion.
Okay, do we have the chart that, you and I discussed the other day about doing the expenses or the allocations based on cost of operations? Where is that at?
This, and the presentation you see here is the one which we sent out last week, and this is what I was,
But do you,
Yeah,
Yes.
let me say this. We did do an analysis. It showed that if, in fact, you did it by operational, got rid of the cost of the electricity and the water and sewer, did it only on operation, that percentage would make it more close to 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 instead of 60%. That would actually move $500,000 cost from electric to water and sewer.
see, I don't understand why we're not at least looking at
You
that.
have that sheet. You have that sheet that we worked up on.
15 minutes here to it.
Well, that's the one, no, that's the difference. That's on retail to cost. Do we have that sheet or not? We don't have, well, we worked it up.
yeah, I mean, I have it, I can go make copies of it, but,
Well, we really, but we, and I'll just sort of summarize it, okay? And that is that it moves 500,000 from electric to water and sewer.
Okay.
We would prefer we go ahead and implement this. If, in fact, we would like to go through the one we emailed you, which even takes the electric rate a little lower, 10.83, if we, again, if we decide to have the utility company charge retail to general fund instead of cost. And that was a decision made by council about 4 or 5 years ago. And that was because they were trying to help out the general fund at that point. So that would result in 115,000, and that sheet that was emailed to you, 115,000 more funds flowing from general fund to utility fund, which means we could lower the, if we applied it all to the electric rate, we could do 10.83. And we're okay with that, because that's a continual revenue source that would happen every year until the end of the time. So we can change our recommendation here a little bit and say, instead of 10.95, we could take it down to 10.83. But we are not recommending we go to an operational allocation. And we'll address that later on if you want to, but we would rather go ahead and.
Okay, well, I would, if we have it available, I would like to at least look at it. Okay? Because I think that is the most,
yeah. she's gonna make
Okay,
the
copies.
most-
go and make copies. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this one. They have, that's the one you emailed, right? I think most, I don't know, let's go ahead and get that. This is actually an easy solution here that will take it down 12%. 10.8.
billing water and sewer at the new rate, that they have to adjust that. What this new sheet does is basically take electricity sold to the city, which had been being billed at wholesale, and adjusting it to retail.
Yes, and it does the same thing for water and sewer as well.
Same thing for water.
And of course, in the utility fund, because they get more revenue and incur more expense, their utility costs, it's only the increase in general fund. And we're okay with that.
So electricity at the sewer plant would still be billed at wholesale, at the sewer plant. So it would be offset by expense.
Right.
Yes, if you look at that sheet, I can just go over it really quick. On the top, general fund, the total utility cost for 2011 and 12 was $330,624. If we charge at retail, the cost will go up $127,000. We did the same thing for utility fund. The total cost for utility, all the utilities in the utility fund was $416,664. If we increase that by the retail cost, the new cost will be $581,000, and that would be a total increase of $164,000. So under summary tab, you can see that the cost for general fund to be charged at retail would be $127,332. General fund would generate an additional $11,667 in franchise fee revenue. So the total effect on general fund, the cost would be $115,665. On the utility fund side, the additional revenue generated would be $291,679, and this would be coming from charging at retail. The utility fund cost for utilities, the additional cost would be $164,347, and the utility fund would also have to pay general fund $11,000 in franchise fees. So the total effect on utility fund, positive effect, would be $115,665. We took that $115,665 and calculated that we could reduce the electric rate 10/12 of a cent, and the new rate we could suggest would be, instead of $10.95, $10.83.
Eva, on the utility cost for the utility, would you explain the $413,000, the $2308, and the $768 for me, please?
Yes, I have taken all the departments which are in the utility fund and analyzed how much they paid for utilities last year. And you don't see the detail, but for example, groundwater paid $61,382 for electricity, and I'm sure Ava can more maybe analyze that, which meters are paid by the groundwater department, but that was charged to, I guess, producing water, or so that department paid $61,000 for electricity. So I just went through each department. Water treatment was charged $9,505. Water distribution was charged $120,525. Added all the electricity costs for each department in the utility fund, and increased the cost by the difference of the cost and the actual retail.
Okay, we have a total cost of $416,664 for fiscal 11-12.
Yes.
So you're telling me that the water department only used $2,308 of electricity.
No, that's water.
Yes, I'm saying. The water department only used $2,308 of electricity in the fiscal year 11-12. And the electric department used $413,000 of electricity.
No, I'm telling you that the toll charged to the city for the electricity was $413,000. For water, only water, it was $2,308. So the electric, water, and sewer is the difference between electric bill, sewer bill, and water bill.
Okay.
I see what yes.
It's like the service center.
Okay, what about the electric cost that the water department uses? Where does that fit into?
This is, this toll is not broken out between how much the water department uses and how much the sewer department uses and how much the electric department is paying for. This is the toll.
General.
This is just the toll for utility fund. So it's not broken out between the different departments. I just added up our total utility cost for the utility fund.
Okay. Alrighty.
So,
Now,
Because we would have to increase each account to retail. We wouldn't be able to just increase some of the accounts. If we do this, we would have to increase all the accounts.
Okay, well, let me ask this then. What rate is the water department paying for electricity now and then in your proposal?
Again, we did not divide it. Most of the electricity is paid by water and sewer. But this analysis doesn't show you how much each department pays. It rather shows you how much extra what utility fund would be able to generate. And we are proposing to use that toll profit towards reducing the electric rate.
Okay, so
so
the water
to
department,
answer your question, though, they're paying .0785 now, and they'll end up paying .1. Right now, it's going to go down
1095?
0.10 or 10.
Yeah,
Depending on
10.
how
Okay.
all right. I'll go through your operational costs for you, okay? Because I have it here. If we did the allocation based on operational cost, excluding purchased power and purchased water cost, but including substation charge and electric in the electricity department, groundwater cost and water distribution and water treatment in the water department, and then wastewater collection and wastewater treatment in the sewer department. Those allocations based on those expenses then would be the electric department would be charged 29%. The water department would be charged 41%, and the sewer department would be charged 30%. So in allocating the total cost charged back to the departments, which is prior to the with the forgiveness of the previous franchise fee, the total cost to be distributed is $1,974,098. Using those percentages, then the amount charged the electricity department would be $572,489. In the calculation I have over here, currently the charge to the electric department is $1,283,529. So that would be a reduction of about $700,000 charged to the electric department. The water department, under the allocation of cost of production with the forgiveness of the franchise fee, as I've calculated, is $588,809. That would now increase to $809,381. In the sewer department, the current allocation with cost of production and forgiveness of the franchise fee is $201,760. And based on my recalculation using the operational cost percentages, that would increase to $592,229. So that would be the allocations based on operational costs.
That's a little different from what we compute. He's making a copy.
Yes.
We technically file.
500,000. Well, I did that on my own calculator, so I could be wrong. I did foot and cross foot because I'm an accountant.
Yeah.
But, so it does make a substantial difference in the amount charged to electrical, 500,000.
And that's all passed on to the water and sewer.
That goes to water and sewer.
Yeah. So your water and sewer.
Mickey, would you tell us what to circle so that we understand what?
541.
Do what now? I'm sorry, Gary.
Well, in order to get your numbers on the rate study expense analysis part, the second part there, tell us what to circle so we have an understanding of how we get to cost of operations.
Okay. Look at the cost allocation based on cost of production page. Can we flip to that?
No, on this sheet here. Can you do it on this sheet?
Well, I just now saw this.
Is it 377 and 681?
Show me where we are.
The operation cost is everything
Oh,
but
687. I picked up the substation charge,
Okay.
377,884,
Okay.
and the electric cost, or the direct cost associated with that department of 681,877. So those are the two numbers I included in that operational cost.
Okay.
In the water, I picked up the 472,600 for the groundwater. I picked up the 583,063 for the water distribution, the 498,973 for water treatment.
Okay.
And then for operational costs of the sewer department, I picked up the water collection of 412,487. I picked up the water treatment cost of 737,719. Then added up each of those individually, added up all of them in total, and calculated the 29%, 41%, 30%.
29%, 41%.
Yeah, I'm just
We're
off.
at 30, 42, and 29.
Yeah, so we're very, very close.
Okay. Well, I think that's a much more fair way to allocate costs.
Look at it in any way you want, but you're ignoring all the substantial financial investment utility in terms of saying allocating. You're saying the fact of spending $10, $12 million, of the city's money, we're not going to consider that an allocated cost. That's just a difference in opinion. But
And
now
that is another way of looking.
it's another way of looking at it, and you're saying financial impact doesn't really matter to the distribution of a non-departmental. That's one way to look at it.
The difficulty of the issue is that in any way you look at it, there's $1,974,000 worth of cost that's got to be allocated, and it's going to hurt one or the other.
Whichever way. The consumer's not going to win. Still, certain consumers might, but their electric bill's going to go up, water bill's going to go higher.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that we want to do that. It's just we're trying to do it in components. We're trying to get this rate structure implemented. Then we could look at more. I mean, this needs to be looked at every year or two anyway. Okay. And if we want to go, I think it would be better to do it in phases as opposed to just one big shot treatment where all you're going to do is have people instead of complaining about their electric, complain about their water. Okay. And so I understand. I mean, but you're sort of rearranging the chairs in the Titanic. So we're just saying, let's just go and do this rate change with getting back to market, matching closer to fixed costs and fixed revenue, and then we'll look if y'all want to, if you want to really move costs between the water and sewer. That, I don't think the city can do that precedent. You know, they're still writing the check. Until this contract, the problem is the contract's out there at a high fixed cost. That's the problem. It doesn't change.
What are we saving back here or on our electrical if we do the rate you're suggesting? Say the average home, not the small one, but the average home. What would they be saving electrical?
That was in the March budget.
Yeah. I should have it here. It's kind of what's looked
We got it for you.
Average, just average.
Are we talking about the 1095 rate?
Yes.
Mr. Allen? Oh, okay. An average customer would be saving 11% on the electric bill.
11?
So the water's gonna go up 19,
Yes.
sewer's going up 7. That difference is -6.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have the small business guy in there.
Yeah, that's small.
Yeah, we do.
And that's small
11.
commercial. Well, but you're assuming 30,000 gallons of water. A lot of these businesses, you know, they don't use a lot of water. They use a lot of electricity. These retail operations don't use a lot of water. It's lighting the store, cleaning the store.
So
So
it'd
you're
be more of
saving.
a savings for them.
So there's not going to be, anyway. I'm gonna-
Here's
my
the thing I don't want to see us do. I mean, I want to see us bring the rate down as low as we can, but we got to keep in mind if the economy turns, we got a problem. Other thing we got to look at is building reserves because we're going to need this water treatment plant started in the next 3 or 4 years, and we're going to make payments on that. So that's two deals this year.
All right, staff has recommended that we adopt a cost production percentage allocation with the 2008 and 9 franchise fee forgiveness. And under their calculation, that results in a bottom line reserve addition of $516,467. The allocation that we're talking about here, this operational cost allocation, does not change the $516,467. That number stays the same. What it does change is the bottom line of the electric and the water and the sewer department. And it could change those bottom lines of the electric, water, and sewer department without changing the rate study. The rates could remain what the staff is working analyzing. So based on what we're saying, that would make the electric department look like it was making more money than the water department. The water department percentage on this, which was 408, would go down by some amount. So it would just merely change the allocations within the total structure unless you went and applied that to electric rates.
Yeah, that's what this shows. It shows my electric making a lot of money, but we were trying to get back to where all three were. It shows the two. We just didn't see, until we relay it back to a change in rate, I don't think we can change the application.
I would agree with that. Unless you make that allocation change, apply the rate. There's no need to change.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes.
Can we go ahead and show what I put together?
Yes.
And can you pull it up on the screen? You can't put it up on the monitors?
Well, did you add it?
I started adding it, so I was able to add the first page you have sent me,
Okay.
but I wasn't able to add the second one. I just didn't have the time.
Okay. Well, I'll pass
Hopefully when you didn't have the time, turn them around today.
No, I sent her this today.
Today, no wonder you got
Well,
You want a sheet?
I got the second one, 3:30. I was able to add the first one.
Go ahead, floor.
Caps, go right ahead. Explain what you handed out here, if you would, please.
Okay, basically, this is the same exact information that you have in the presentations you've already seen. All I've done is I've kind of expanded the detail or how this breaks down by customer. And the reason I think this is important is for us to understand what particularly the electric customer is paying for. And this is why I'm pushing for a 9.5-cent rate. So of the non-departmental expenses, we got $216,000. And if you go down there, your customers, I show the customer breakdown and I show the percentage of customers. So of the 216,000, the electric customer is paying 68% of the non-department expenses, and they only represent 28% of the customer base. So the electric customer is paying $45.90 for the payroll and the audit and the contribution to the college, the inventory damage, all the stuff you see up there. What that costs a electric customer each year is $45.90, while the water customer is paying $10.26 per customer, and the sewer department customer is only paying $5.22. Going on to shared expenses of $634,000, the electric customer is paying $134.25, while the water customer is paying $30, and while the sewer customer is paying $15. This is why our electric rates are so high, is the allocation we're using. Moving on to the executives, which include the city manager, the city attorney, the assistant director of finance, the city secretary, public works director, and the human resource director. Of the $398,000 in salary that's paid, the electric customer is paying $84 a year for that. The water customer is paying $18, and the sewer customer is paying $9.59. So of the total non-departmental expenses, the electric customer is paying $264 a year, while the water customer is paying $59 a year, while the sewer customer is paying $30 per year. And I also showed the franchise fee. And I know we've debated about this, on why or what for. But out of $834 of franchise fees, the electric customer is paying $157. The water customer is paying $47, and the sewer customer is paying $26. When you add up all the non-departmental and the franchise fee, the electric customer is paying $422, the water customer is paying $106, and the sewer customer is paying $56. The electric customers are choosing between medicine sometimes, or food, versus air conditioning or heating.
Gary, if you switch that over, I agree the breakdown is just not correct. Doesn't look right. I agree with you. But let's say if you change that over to water or sewer, then we gotta go up on there. So,
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next one, but, you know, what this does is it kind of hides, it camouflages the real cost of our water. And I don't think that does anybody any good to subsidize the water department by the electric customer. I want to know what the real cost of water is as a council member, so I can make the best informed decisions there are.
Just so you know, to have your units as customers, the only way that would work is if every customer.
This is an average.
Well, you're having a unit by customer, and so customers aren't going to have different bills.
No, I know that's the whole reason I've done it this way is because, you know,
You just don't want to allocate it by total cost of the product. You want to allocate it by customer. Well, actually,
no,
operational cost ends up with very close to the same. So,
No, this is-
we've said, that's why we're not arguing based on the customer, we're just arguing the total cost as opposed to operational cost.
No, I'm just showing what the existing proposed rate is per customer, what the cost of the customer is paying based on your proposed rate.
This is
This is.
also not exactly correct because it's not really number of customers or citizens, it's actually number of connections.
Right.
And multiple accounts have multiple meters in lots of cases. They may have 2 electric meters, a household water meter, and an irrigation meter, or commercial meter, or any combination and number of each.
Yeah, but again,
So-
we're talking about non-departmental expenses. We're not talking about actual operating costs, we're talking about non-departmental expenses. Okay, now I wouldn't come here without a solution, okay? And I don't know if, can you put, I don't suppose you got my Word document.
Yeah, I got your Word document.
You throw it up there?
I had to bring it on a separate slide. I didn't have
Well, that's
time.
okay, everyone has a copy. We'll have a copy.
Well, I can get it.
And again, the motivation behind this is there's people that can't afford the electricity they're paying for. They don't use the air conditioner. And that's my motivation, is that the least of us that can afford this are the ones that are subsidizing the water cost and subsidizing the general fund. And that's wrong. And that is my motivation. And in this proposal, what I'm suggesting is that we leave the water and sewer rates alone, as been recommended by staff, and we drop the electric rate. We do this only for the period of time until we have our budget meeting. By then, I think we'll have other options. But this will get the low-income person through the summer, and that's when they need it. So the proposal to modify staff's recommendation of the electric rate of 10.9 cents per kilowatt hour for the remaining fiscal year to 9.5 cents. And I said, why should we? I said, the electric customer has been subsidizing the water and sewer customer, and in some cases, the general fund for a long time. Number one, the electric customer has been paying for water and sewer bond debt well exceeding $3.5 million in just the past 5 years. Two, the electric department has been charging costs for electricity used by the city. This represents hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue in the electric department that goes uncollected. That we now know that number, that's $115,000. So it's not hundreds, it's 100,000. In contrast, the electric department pays to the general fund a full retail rate of 4% of gross revenue. Out of $834,000 in franchise fees, the electric customer pays $510,000. Number 3, the electric customer pays 68% of non-departmental expenses, while only representing 28% of the customer base. The electric customer paid $500,000 for a parking lot. The justification was because it had lake access. In that event, I guess, they should have paid for the conference center. I didn't get that far.
Let me ask you a question, Gary. On number 3, you said it's 28% of the customer base. There's more water and sewer customers.
Yeah, if you look at the other sheet, I break down the customer numbers.
And it's connection. There's more water sewer connection than there are electrical.
Yeah, right here. There's a total of 11,746. That's where that number comes from. And then I say, how do we do this? Next page. I'm estimating what we need is about $900,000 to get us through the rest of the fiscal year. I think it might be less. We're already halfway through our fiscal year. So I want to immediately decrease the rate from 12.6 cents to 9.5 cents. Suspend the franchise fees. The general fund pay for the parking lot. Charge a retail rate for electricity to the city. And base non-departmental expenses on cost of operations, not gross revenue. Given the large surpluses in the general fund and the surplus that is estimated for this year, we can afford to adopt 9.5 cents without affecting our bond rating. The 9.5 cent rate still is 18% higher than United Co-op.
You do that, Gary, what would it do to the water and sewer?
It's going to stay the same.
Why don't we go 6.5 and we're trying to be united, trying to just go on and a couple points, and that way we can save the
I don't understand your point.
Wrong, 7.5, and that way we'll be united.
Again, I don't understand your point.
I want to save these poor people money.
Okay, well, I'm sure I'm open to that, Tony. It's just I'm trying to figure out a way to, actually do it. And this is how we do it.
Does the financial department think this will work? I've had longer look at it than I have. I just got it.
We can't forget that we are paying 8.5 cents for electricity. Selling it at 9.5 cents would really.
Well, and look, let me add. I mean,
Okay.
510,000 would come out of the general fund. 500,000 is a one-time deal, so you wouldn't have revenue for the other 4 years.
No,
Under a lot of
again,
pressure.
this proposal is about getting us through this budget year. That'll give us time to work out the other.
I don't want to do something over Gary for 4 months and then turn around and go back up. I mean, that's suicidal. Okay. I'd rather stick with 10.9 or whatever it is. We know for a year, and then it's a budget, take out as much as we can. And we can always bring this back up after our fiscal year in November.
Okay, we already are on schedule for a $760,000 surplus in the general fund.
Well, we haven't projected that.
Okay, you're 6 months in.
Tax is up about 600,000 if it stayed at 10%, and now it's at 9%. Actually,
I decreased the percent, yeah.
yeah. So we're in the 540,000 of extra sales tax, and that's about all we can say. But whether that continues through the big summer months, which is a lot of sales tax during the summer because of tourism, we don't know yet. So we don't normally make a projection of surplus until the last 2 or 3 months of the year, and that's when you remember that's when we started projecting last year. So we don't know what's going to happen next 3 months.
Okay, all right, can I ask a couple questions here? All right, do we know how many kilowatts we sell on an annual basis? What's our number, what's our revenue number based on how many
88,000.
kilowatts?
Our revenue number, we do know that. I did not bring that sheet with me.
Is it 88,000?
It's
88?
It's in your worksheet. maybe it's the, no, it's in the big one,
On the budget book?
budget one.
But that number there,
It's on the second page, the utility, of the electric portion of the utility. Yep.
Oh, I thought you were asking kilowatts.
how many kilowatts you sell? In other words,
That's not in there.
88.
Kilowatts.
Well, that's
Oh,
thousands, 88,000.
88,000
Yeah.
right.
It may be 80
Probably
million
88.
kilowatts, I don't know.
88 million?
That's right. so-
yeah. 8 million? Yeah.
88?
8 million kilowatts? Yeah, it's, you gotta convert it to, there. Number of kilowatts hours sold annually, it says 88,000 kilowatts, okay, which is thousands of wattage. So, yeah, it's 88,000 kilowatts.
And we charge 0.12 cents or 0.012?
Per
mean,
kilowatt,
point-
it's 0.109.
We-
0.0126 is what we're
We
charging.
charge 12.1269 per 100 kilowatts. Per 100. 0.1269 per 100.
It'd be hard to figure out what the cost of that 9.5 cents would be for the 4 months.
Well, we knew going from 1095 to 95 million. That's why I think that's where he was headed. That's where you
What?
got
No,
your
I thought you told me it was $1.2 million. You told me it was $1.2 million something.
No, I thought, but we have the
Yes,
conversation.
going from 1095 to 950, it would cost us 1.2 million.
Right.
1.2, okay, I'm sorry. And
All right.
going for the other one was.
So that's 600,000 to get us through halfway through.
975.
Yes, 975, that would be $1 million.
All right, so what do you happen to have in your head a number that 12.6 to 9.5, what does that impact revenues over this 4-month period, over the period of time, let's see, from what, May to
I've been
September?
calculating from the proposed rate of 10.95 to the 9.5. That's what's in my.
Okay, so what is the effect on revenues from from proposal made by staff to the 9.5 cents?
Well, if it's 1.2 million a year, it'd be $600,000.
And and you're in the summer months, which is your higher usage than that.
That's why I used 900.
So you assume okay,
I think that's, probably 750 would probably be a better number.
900,000 is the projected impact on top line.
Max.
Okay. All right. In your suspend the franchise, why did you only use 510, 584 and not the full 875 or whatever
Well,
that number is?
We could do that. I was just looking at what the electric customer pays.
Okay.
But I mean, totally on board with the full amount.
Like 600.
834,000.
No, 734,000. Right.
Well, 834 including, oh,
Yes.
734.
It
Um,
was 834 for water, sewer, and electric.
Right. Well, that was before the forgiveness of franchise. With the forgiveness of franchise, it would be 724.
So, and make sure I'm thinking right here. On the general fund pays for the parking lot, the 500,000. Would that be the same as forgiving the forgiven franchise fee? But I mean, over the 5 or 6 year period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
600,000.
640,000.
Am I thinking right? I mean, is it forgiving paying back the utility for the fund is the same as giving back the forgiven franchise fee? Am I right? Right.
Uh-huh.
So you'd have you're saying you have a $100,000 effect in this year, right?
Right.
And we see that the retail city for that has an effect of what? 115,000. Okay. And then your last comment, 5, the base non-departmental expenses. has no effect on the amount of money collected. Is that agreed or not?
Well, that would, move a lot of money from the electric department to the water and sewer departments.
Well, if you look at what, in my looking at your calculation here on the spreadsheet, you're using a percent of 28, 41, and 32, and that's basically what you come up with when you do the calculation based on operational costs. It's basically the same effect. So, but in essence, the non-departmental expense has an effect only on the internal rate, doesn't have any effect on the overall budget.
And I'm not suggesting to make that change now. I think that's something that we need to look at for the budget. I'm trying to figure out how we get from today to our budget workshop. And so I'm not proposing that we change the allocations. I'm just proposing how do we get the $600,000-$700,000 or whatever that is to offer to implement a 9.5 cent rate.
What do we get for 900,000?
All right.
Well,
Go ahead.
He suspends the franchise and pays $500,000 reserves. That's what takes $1 million out of the general fund reserve.
Well, I don't, if you suspend the reserve and you, or if you...
Well, and that's if you were able to suspend the entire year.
If you suspend the franchise fee and then add the $115,000 for the change, that basically takes care of it, but that is $1 million hit to the general fund over a year's time.
And with the new reserves we had to set up, the actual reserve unrestricted one is $4 million. You have to keep $3 million. You're gonna run a risk of getting below. You remember, I mean, it had other reserves that we had to reallocate. We've got $5 million. We've got over $5 million cash in the fund.
Yep.
Some of that.
4.9 in reserve.
Four.
4.2, and some of them are restricted, yes.
Well,
And-
that was the unrestricted $4 million.
Oh,
4.2, I thought 4.9.
yes, but they are still linked to some of our reserve balances and accounts payable. And I also wanted to mention, I know I said that before, that our bond rating would be affected if we don't set our metrics to reflect the correct rates what we pay for electricity and what we charge. I have showed you, I think, and I have copies of bond rating reviews what are based on the fact that our metrics is set in a way that it reflects the correct profit margin. We have been downgraded back in 2010, February, when we didn't increase the electric rate fast enough to reflect our new costs, and I can hand that out. So that is something we have to keep in mind.
Okay, well, I talked to John Martin about the bond ratings. Do you have a copy of that memo, Eva,
Which memo? The one he sent?
from John Martin?
Well, we don't agree.
Okay, I'd
Them to take that.
okay.
I haven't got any memo. I have the emails we got from him about the fund balances, and also all the reviews from the bond rating agencies, how they rate us, what is it based on.
Well, I'd like to read his letter, if I could. You've asked me to provide you with my opinion of sequences associated with the depletion of the city's fund balance. I will draw on my experience in working with the nationally recognized rating agencies for the last 30 years. What is the right amount of fund balances? General fund. A lower fund balance, such as 15% or 60 days, is more acceptable for entities that have the flexibility to raise revenue quickly to offset increased expenses or a downturn in other revenue. In Granbury, our general fund revenue is fairly concentrated, with over half of our income coming from sales tax. The sales tax is currently at the maximum rate. Property tax accounts for roughly 15% of our income and is usually not a popular tax to increase. But I want to make a point. Our tax rate is one of the lowest there is. Why we have the highest water and sewer and electric rates in the region. Therefore, we believe the city should maintain a fund balance in the 90 to 120-day range. Utility fund. Cash is king in the utility fund. You may recall only a few years ago, the city's utility revenue bonds were downgraded as a result of having only about $100,000 in cash and negative debt service coverage. This is why we have to look at the allocations from general fund to utility fund. We've got to make a change. We have to move more expenses from the utility fund over to the general fund. You should be proud that the utility fund is now much more liquid and appears to be maintaining about $1.5 million in cash and investments. Due to volatility in usage of water or electric, that is totally unpredictable. Unrestricted fund balances for utilities should always be maintained at a higher level than general fund. And we're the opposite. We're maintaining high balances in the general fund and lower balances in the utility fund. So what he's recommending is the opposite of what we're doing.
Well, we
It
don't
doesn't look like
have, no,
it
we're
does-
trying to build it.
Same memo.
If we take the general fund down, we're going to take below the 25, 30%. We don't have enough money to do both of this. We're trying to raise the utility fund as fast as we can. And by reallocating it, we'll change it. You're very right.
Well, I don't know if you read the same memo that I have.
It is the same. He made some additional, he made some editorial comments in the middle
Comments,
there.
okay. Yeah, he was that too.
Did you get the edited version?
How did you get your copy?
Dee's got the edited version.
So we would recommend 105 to 135 days
Or 35.
with 35%.
Is that
So
of revenue number or is that of expense?
for the general fund.
Expense.
So
Expenses of 18 million, 35%. I mean, that's a huge. We were at
but
making progress.
Oh, okay. This was back over.
They're not impressed with our general fund levels. It's causally related to relying on sales tax.
right, and I don't think we should do that. I mean, we're talking about a comprehensive, fundamental change in allocations, in revenues. But what I'm concerned about is the electric customer living on $1,000 a month and gets a $300 electric bill. I'm going to leave it at that.
Any other comments, Mr. Council?
I'm just curious, I mean, the workshop is, if we do a rate change, that would be in the regular meeting? Or how would that happen?
We're going to address it on April 16th.
The rate structure is scheduled for what, 16th? Our next meeting with the city council.
We're wanting to, I realize this, give me this 4 people, so, you may not be able to make a recommendation, I don't know, but we're asking, staff is asking the recommend to go ahead with the implementation. And maybe address it with the y'all want to look at it.
Comments, Lowell?
Get the rates that are equitable, but also that they can't sell something for it. If contract, again, natural gas is spiking so much, we don't know what's going to happen. 3 months from now, we're going to have the lowest rate in town. We got 2 or 3 more years of it.
Are there any large commercial users in in town that have fixed rate with United Co-op, or most of them have the rate plus the adder?
The rate's 8.17.
But that changes on a daily basis based on the cost of gas.
No, they have a different system. I mean, they've implemented procedures that keep that rate even. They're not that volatile. He explained it to me, but they don't change the rate month to month based on gas.
So there will be, staff will have on proposal what's that number?
Well, we've actually going to change it a little bit. We're going to say staff recommends approval of a 10.83
10.83.
electric rate along with proposed utility restrictions presented on March 19th. And we're going to take it up back and change it. That makes sense to us. The new cost of retail.
And that 12 cents or whatever that would be reflected in the utility partner.
Done through the
And you've gone through that computation and come up with a new proposed financial recap, right? That's what we have. Did we get that pushed through the whole system or not?
What's the point?
This Wednesday?
Yeah, what we're saying is apply just the electric rate.
Okay.
So we're not going to push it over to water and sewer. This is coming from the general fund back as a higher cost. That $150,000 comes straight in, will lower the amount of money that the customer's paying by $115,000 or 12 cents. And so we're saying 10.83 will have a net zero effect on the overall utility market.
I guess we can vote on it in that meeting, Wayne, but, if we go that way, it's fine. I think Gary's got a good idea, and I think it's something everybody should look at. When we get this rate down,
But, I mean, what do you mean electric and rateable? That's what he's proposing on operations.
Well, but we didn't get to my third.
Which was the tax.
Well, we have to get into the allocations, expenses from the general fund versus the utility fund. But that's a workshop
That's what we
budget.
just did. We explained the allocation.
Right, but
what's the deal, Gary, on the tax you were talking about, property tax?
no, what I'm saying is that if you were to analyze the allocations, okay, I think you would discover that the general fund should be paying more expenses. So what that means is the utility customer, primarily the water customer, is subsidizing my my property taxes, and I don't need the electric customer to subsidize my property tax, especially if that means that they can't turn their air conditioner on.
So, if we need more money and we don't have a general fund, then we go up on tax, tax.
Well, we don't have to do that, but even in the letter that John put together is that we are so dependent on sales tax that makes us vulnerable. It's something we have to look at for sure. It's the lowest rate in the region by far. But I'm not advocating a tax increase.
Well, I think we've got to we need to implement, right?
Well,
At
not
least.
until the 16th. We were thinking maybe we didn't vote here, but yeah, we want Right.
We have a straw poll, I suppose. I'm inclined to think that I would agree to 1083 and move forward and work these allocations. And I've discussed these allocations with Gary extensively and worked with staff extensively on them, so I have a pretty fair understanding of what's in those costs. So I'm more than willing to talk about those allocations and why they aren't made, and possibly come up with a great answer in a period of time. I think in the short run, we need to go ahead and implement the staff's recommendation and move forward with the budget process.
Gary doesn't agree. Just trying to get a straw poll here in public meeting. Do you agree with the staff recommendation? I'm not trying, I mean, are you asking to yes or anybody else?
No, that's just my comments. I made my comments.
I guess as the staff trying to get a feel, should we go ahead and start preparing this? We can pick up
it would
2
be-
weeks worth of work if we can go ahead and start working on it. We don't want to do it if it's going to be a different.
As long as I've been sitting on this council, I would suggest patience.
Okay.
And
Get the 2
patience is a virtue, and wait till what comes down 2 weeks from now, and then implement it in there. I would ask that Mr. Gary bring forward to us a financial analysis of how this might happen if we take the 9.5, and so we can sort of solidify this number. I'll be more than willing to work with you and talk to you and go through that stuff with you. We've done that before. Any comments? Any more? All right. Then I will call the rate study workshop adjourned, and we'll reconvene, or the city council will convene here at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much. I appreciate staff and your hard work. And hold on, customers. Here we come.